How are you doing today? You are very important.
What are you, Dr. Phil or what? Dr. Steve?
We never really ask how they're doing. And it's very important how you're doing. We hope you're having a good day. I'm Steve Sparky.
You might have to see Dr. Phil after that intro.
There's a lot of other stuff I should see Dr. Phil about, too. Steve Sparky, Fifer from
oh boy.
AM 1250 and 105.7 FM, The Fan in Milwaukee, coast of the Wendy's Big Show, weekday afternoons from 2 until 6. He, of course, Gery Woelfel, columnist of the Racine Journal-Times. Time now to do a little packet talk. This will be the last one for a while, I think. Look, this Packers team ended.
The Packers could go, all year round.
They could.
There's a ton of stuff coming up.
What?
The combine's coming up. The draft is
That's
coming up. Free agency's coming up.
Free agency doesn't count. The Packers don't even have it on their calendar in Green Bay. They don't even know it exists.
Ted's going to shock the world this year in free agency.
He just did 2 years ago when I got Julius Peppers. You
right.
think he's due again?
I think he's ready to hit it again. I think he's going for the Grand Slam.
If you were Mike McCarthy, would you be frustrated?
No. I would be disappointed, very disappointed, because obviously some players didn't play to their capabilities, but at the same time, all the adversity that team dealt with is remarkable that they were basically a few plays from going to the NFC Championship. I mean, they did not have...
They hit a Hail Mary to get to overtime.
Sure. But you don't think other teams get plays like that along the way?
They hit 2 Hail Marys in the season!
I understand.
Tell me the last NFL team to hit 2 Hail Marys in the same season.
That would be a great trivia.
I've been asking everybody.
Nobody. I know it.
Nobody's got it.
But nevertheless... He didn't have Jordy Nelson. He didn't have Devontae Adams, and we can all.
When he did have Devontae Adams, he didn't have Devontae Adams.
No, right, okay. But he is technically their number 2 guy, correct?
Yeah, sure.
He loses Cobb. Cobb's banged up. Doesn't play 3/4 of the divisional game against Arizona. He doesn't have a tight end.
Gary Cobb wasn't a factor most of the year.
I agree. They did not.
And Devontae Adams dropped most of what was thrown to him.
I'm not arguing that. My point is Aaron Rodgers and McCarthy didn't have those weapons that they expected to have, okay?
But if you're...
Rodgers didn't have anything to work with this year. 0.
Okay, but wait a second. Now, if you talk to guys that watch the film, they will tell you he had guys open throughout the course of the year, and he simply wasn't making the throws. Yeah. Then if you talk to guys that watch the film, they will tell you his fundamentals were so jacked up by the end of the year, it's on Rodgers. It wasn't on Andrew, it wasn't on anything else, it's on Rodgers. Now, my next follow-up to that is, if your fundamentals are so jacked up, why do we have a quarterbacks coach? What does he do?
Well, I agree with that, too.
What does he do?
But again, okay, here's my question.
Shouldn't you be working on fixing his fundamentals during the course of the year? Isn't that your job?
I agree with you, but I find it very hard to believe that a quarterback that far along in his career all of a sudden loses it because of his...
Just go back and watch. How many times did he throw the football falling away off his back foot?
Yeah.
He was using more arm than I've ever seen him use.
Do you ever think that maybe he was compensating for an injury by doing that?
Well, let's find out.
Yeah, okay.
Tell us.
Okay, no. That's my point. At the post-game press conference, what do they have, like 40 reporters there?
No.
And I understand fully, I'm a reporter, I understand there's a lot of questions to be asked. But wouldn't one of the questions be, what happened to Aaron Rodgers in the middle of the season? Why was he not the same Aaron Rodgers that we saw?
I'll be Mike McCarthy. Sure, Gary. Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
Aaron just hit a rough patch throughout the
year.
A
rough patch? He never hit a rough patch in his whole career.
He struggled a little bit, Gary. And
he struggled big time.
He'll get better, and he'll be back to the old Aaron next year. Next question.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, no, but
I read so many of these, I can answer them for him.
Okay, fine. If he dances around the question.
All right, next question.
Next question would be, no, not to you. If I'm a reporter, and again, they have a ton of people covering Packers, they should have a ton of sources in that organization. Someone should have got to the bottom of this whole...
Of what's wrong with them.
Of what's wrong with Rodgers. And I'm not throwing all these reporters under the bus, but maybe I am.
But even
somebody's got to ask those questions.
But even the national guys don't have it. I mean, nobody has it.
I agree.
Nobody.
I agree. And having been around professional organizations a long time, some teams do a great job of hiding events. I mean, you don't find out until 5-10 years later.
Packers are among the best.
Absolutely. But nevertheless, if you're covering that team on a daily basis for an extended amount of time, you got to have sources somewhere in that organization that's going to talk.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
And to me, that is the biggest mystery of the season. What happened to Aaron Rodgers in the middle of the season?
Because there was nothing wrong with his arm or shoulder.
We don't know.
Gary Ellerson and Leroy Butler have pointed out numerous times. He doesn't make the throws he does. He doesn't throw the Hail Mary pass he does with his distance that he does if there's something wrong with his shoulder. Now, my point...
But, you know, I tend to disagree with that. I think in the raw emotion of the game, the moment, he might be able to do that.
Okay, but this is what I...
like everything's so wrapped up.
If we're going to be conspiracy theorists and say something's wrong with Rodgers hurt-wise, then let me throw you mine out.
Okay.
Because he threw off his back foot so much and was using so much arm, I wonder if it was a lower leg injury, where he couldn't come down on his plant foot as much as he wanted to.
I've had several people tell me, like in game, I forget what it was, 6 or 7, they saw him coming up after being hit, wincing with his left shoulder, okay? Now, maybe he took one hit. Maybe it was nothing, but maybe it wasn't either.
That's not his throwing shoulder.
Correct, but it still would affect your throwing motion and stuff.
To a degree.
But anyways, for whatever reason, Rodgers was not the same guy.
But going back to what I asked you earlier about McCarthy being frustrated, I think he has every reason to be frustrated. You look around the National Football League, just look at the 2 teams that are involved right now in the Super Bowl. Both those teams use free agency to fill holes.
You beat me to the punch.
This team doesn't, and McCarthy should be frustrated.
We said that forever under Thompson's tenure.
Right, but at this point now, when you're Mike and you see one national report come out and go, hey, if they lose a playoff game, you know, somebody's job may be lost. Okay, that must mean somebody's talking to somebody, that maybe McCarthy's job's in danger. When you start seeing that crap, if I'm the head coach, I'm going, okay, now wait a second. You want to fire me, that's up to you.
Yeah.
But at least let me have as many weapons as everybody else to play with here. You're giving me one avenue of the draft, which is fine. We've missed on a bunch of guys, and we've hit on a bunch of guys too. The secondary this year was outstanding. I mean, Ted did a great job with Randall and Rollins and Gunter.
His draft was outstanding.
Did a great job, okay?
I love that draft from day one, and they all lived up to what they were supposed to do.
But you lose Sam Barrington, and you did nothing to fix it. Your answer was, we'll leave Clay inside, and Jake Ryan, you're going to wait till like week 12 before we're going to play you.
But to remember last year when they moved him inside, and everybody was praising the move. And
praising McCarthy.
Everybody was praising that Matthews was playing inside.
But if you had a middle linebacker, you wouldn't have had to move Clay inside. That could have been fixed with free agency. And it was brought up, Mason Foster was a guy that you could have had this offseason, and you chose not to do because you wanted to roll with your guys like Nate Palmer. Get out of here.
Okay. I totally agree with you. I mean, we've been harping on that subject ever since Ted Thompson.
I agree.
I mean, every once in a while he'll throw you a ball.
Well, then it's on Mark Murphy to go to Ted and go, look, either you're going to want to do this or we're going to find somebody else.
Absolutely.
How much longer are we going to deal with this?
I totally agree with you. I mean, everybody makes this big deal about him getting Charles Woodson. He got Charles Woodson when basically nobody wanted him.
That's exactly correct.
It wasn't like he had a pursuit. He had like 20 other teams.
It wasn't Reggie White pursuit.
Exactly. Now, which brings us to the next point. There is a player in free agency that if Ted Thompson is really, really serious about winning, if the Packer organization is really serious about winning.
I don't know if I want to hear who you have to say.
No. What do they need on defense to take the pressure off of Clay Matthews and Peppers? They need somebody up front that can constantly put pressure on the quarterback or running back. Right?
I think they really need a middle linebacker. But okay.
I agree.
Go with it. Okay. What are you going to say?
Muhammad Wilkerson of the New York Jets. That guy is unbelievable. And everybody's going to go after him. If I'm Ted Thompson, I go after this guy. He's not Reggie White, but he's a tier below.
I will tell you the problem with that.
Yeah.
Because we discussed this on the big show yesterday.
Wilkerson?
And I'm beyond mad about it. No. Yeah. About where their free agent money is going to go. So,
to their own guys.
There was an article up in Green Bay talking about David Bakhtiari and whether or not they should re-sign him early. Because Bakhtiari, Sitton, and Lang are all up going into 2017.
Right. Yeah.
That's a free agent year.
Okay.
Of those three, who do you want to sign first?
Sitton, without a doubt.
That's what I said.
Without a doubt.
Gary Ellerson said, but wait a second, you know Ted. He's a little bit older. Bad bat, all that. More than likely, he may be the guy that goes. And see, that's crazy. That's crazy. Sitton should be the first one you sign.
Without
the first one.
Okay.
And Bakhtiari, look, if you look at his numbers, based on 14 games, he allowed 3 sacks all year, okay?
Yeah.
Based on that. He was also like one of the 5 or 6 most penalized players in the NFL.
There you go.
But besides all that, he only allowed 3 sacks.
3 sacks, damn good.
Okay.
For a left offensive tackle.
Now, if they pay Bakhtiari top 10 money, which is what people are saying they should do.
And I wouldn't do that.
He's going to make about $9 to $10 million a year.
Okay.
Then you're going to have to pay Sitton, right?
Right.
The top left guard is making $8.5. Well, he's going to get at least 8.5, if not 9,
yeah, no
right?
doubt, no doubt.
So he's going to get $9 million. Your right guard, Lang, he already is top 5 in pay at right guard. He's going to get a pay raise.
Not necessarily.
And then you have Bulaga. Do you realize if they re-up Lang, Sinan, and Bakhtiari, they're going to have the highest paid line in football.
They won't do that.
They will have the highest paid line in football. Now I ask you, does that look like the highest paid line in football?
No, absolutely not. But the point is, he's not going to do it. We've seen it over the years where he's let good players walk on the offensive line. But nobody to the extent of Sitton's caliber. They got to make him a priority.
He should be the first guy to sign.
Yeah, I agree.
And then if you want to deal with Bakhtiari and Lang, fine, but get Sitton signed first. Bad back or not.
Mohamed Wilkerson. I don't care. Whatever it needs to do it, because all of a sudden, you had mentioned before, the secondary, I think, is going to be great.
Yes, I agree.
They got a really good, solid core there. Their linebackers are suspect. But if they can get somebody on the front line that can wreak havoc, that defense is really going to be good.
Daniels is back. I bet you they bring back Raji.
No.
Bet you he comes back again on the cheap. And I bet you they go bring back, who else do they got? Guyon.
Right,
yeah.
right.
They'll bring back all those guys on the cheap
and
go spend their money on the line.
But they're all area. You saw what Reggie White did.
I don't disagree with you. Me and you aren't disagreeing.
No, okay.
I'm just telling you what I think Ted's going to do. And that is go on the cheap. He paid Daniels. That's his big lineman sign.
But in one fell swoop, he can erase his image of being a guy that doesn't go after impact free agents.
Well, Tails say he did. He got Julius Peppers 2 years ago.
On the downside of his
doesn't matter.
Wilkinson
paid him $10 million a year.
Wilkerson is 26, and he's got a ton of sacks the last 3 years. I'm just saying.
He's Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer of WSSP in Milwaukee. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on AM 1250 and 105.7 FM. The Fan. We'll talk to you next time here at RacineSportsZone.com.